Nikki, I was just saying, I think it's possible today was the best offensive day of practice for this team.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree with that. They look good. It was a fun practice to watch in the second half, especially. I thought Jaden looked really good in the second half, but yeah, I mean, they were, and Marcus too. Marcus Mariota looked pretty good. I mean, he was hitting Bryson Tremaine, Mitch Tischler's favorite player.
That's Mitch's guy.
Multiple times. So yeah, it was fun.
It was, and it was good to see the offense perform well because they kind of hadn't. It'd been kind of sluggish, or like they'd get something going and then there'd be a false start, or you know what I mean? Like, or there'd be a fumble.
Yeah.
And I do think you saw some of those like high effort plays from the Commanders defense where it was like, all right, you know what I mean? Like the Sanders drill chasing down B-Rob 40 yards down the field. Like it was just kind of one of those super high effort things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the second half of practice was when the offense really started to come on. I mean, yeah, that play was high effort. They also had another fumble that I think Frankie Louva might have gotten a hand on initially, but I mean, because he's just a freak out there. Yeah, but then they pulled it together and they had a good rhythm going there in the second half of team drills.
They had a couple of a fumble snap with Jaden, and I forgot who the running back was. And then the other quarterback came along right after that, did the exact same thing. But what was up with that?
Yeah, I don't. There were a couple issues there. I mean, they've had drops too throughout camp. I mean, that's kind of been an underrated issue, I guess. But I feel like it's still so early that you always hate to put too much emphasis on some of these things that they need to clean up. But yeah, between that, I mean, the pre-snap penalties on the O-line, like they just got to clean it up, and you hope they do it in time before certainly the season, but even preseason and joint practices.
The pre-snap stuff has definitely been a consistent issue, and you wonder how much different quarterback cadences could impact that. You know what I mean? But a lot of these guys deal with different quarterbacks all the time. They're not jumping this frequently. In general, though, how do you feel about Cliff's offense and this group to implement it?
I mean, pretty good. I mean, we still haven't seen all of it. I don't know that we're really expecting anything a whole lot different from what he ran in Arizona. I mean, it's still going to have his air raid principles, 4 verts, the whole 9. My only concern is the protection up front. Will they have enough for any rookie quarterback? Because I think you need to be a little bit more cognizant of that, just because they haven't seen a lot of what will be thrown at them in the NFL, and the speed is different. So will Jaden have enough protection up front? That's going to be my concern until they give me reason to believe otherwise.
I agree with you on that, Nick. The way you got to see them in the game, but the one thing out here in practice, what I noticed, the D linemen know that they're not getting cut, so they just firing off. And I think once they know that they get sliced down, they slow down a little bit. And I think that can help out the offensive line a little. But I agree with you that you see the athleticism of Coleman and people like that, but you got to see it when it's full speed, when someone is going to get your quarterback, not run past it.
Right. I mean, because Frankie Louva is a beast. Like, I still don't know why he wasn't more highly touted across the league, given what he's doing and the production he's had over the last couple of years. But, I mean, he's had a number of plays where he's just wrecked guys. And it's just, it's not great when you see that. And then you're like, oh, wow, that's their starter right there on the O-line. Oh, boy. So, yeah, I mean, he's a starting linebacker and handsomely paid for a reason, but, you got to think you're going to be going against, some tough talent on defense too. So, yeah, still some things to clean up there.
For sure. We're talking with our friend Nicki Jhabvala here on the BetQL guest line. You can follow Nicki at NICKIJHABVALA. Offensive line, DQ tells us today that they're specifically moving people around to try to figure out the best spots, combinations, etc. Obviously, barring injury, right? Nobody's predicting that kind of stuff. What do you think that group looks like week 1 in Tampa?
Week 1 in Tampa, I'm still not sure on Cornelius, Lucas, and Brings Coleman. I feel like that's the one legit competition out there. I'm honestly still not sure. But outside of
at
left
left
tackle, yeah. I would imagine Nick Allegretti at left guard, Tyler Biadasz at center, Sam Cosmi at right guard, and Andrew Wiley at right tackle.
It sounds right.
Yeah.
I think the Dieter thing at left guard's been kind of interesting. The Lucas thing at right tackle's been kind of interesting, but I do think that's kind of what we all expected, and perhaps we're going to see. Another kind of injury update that you were all over was Johnny Newton, the second-round pick out of Illinois, D-tackle, back on the field. I know we got to talk to him. I wasn't there when he talked. What did he say? How is that progress?
Yeah, it was interesting. He said he didn't really feel any discomfort in his foot. They found out about it because he went in for x-rays on his other foot, which he was recovering from the same injury, basically. They do x-rays, and lo and behold, the left one is, facing the same thing. Which
is that normal
I find that
to
unbelievable.
Just x-ray both feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I don't know why you would do that if you don't have discomfort, but whatever. I'm not a doctor. But he said you're kind of shocked when you hear that, but he knew how to recover because he did it. He had just done it with the right foot, so that helped him kind of get through it quickly. And I think you also have to have pretty good genes too to recover the way he did. And he's been fully cleared. He hasn't been immersed fully in practice yet. Hasn't done everything, but to come off surgery for a Jones fracture only and that was like May, I believe. That's wild to me.
2 of them.
It seems right.
And he say he feels great. He has like no discomfort with it.
And for a bigger guy,
young, Nicki, that means he's young.
Yeah, right. It must be nice to be in your 20s. Wait till you hit late 30s, 40. Let me know how you feel then.
Who are you telling? We're talking with our friend Nicki Jhabvala here on the BetQL guest line. The quarterback competition, or whatever you want to.
Are we calling it that? We're not calling it that.
No, but Mariota was back with the ones today. I think it's important to note that, for how much that gets discussed, the work of who gets what work in the 11 on 11s. 11 on 11s are maybe, especially this time of year, maybe 25% of the total practice work. And there's just a steady rotation of players kind of at all time. How about this? You posted this video of Daniels earlier today throwing a really pretty deep, I don't know what, it looks like a wheel from this kid, Mike Wiley. This young man, Michael Wiley, undrafted guy that's currently on the roster. Odds are pretty slim that Mike Wiley makes this roster. But Jaden's throwing to that dude just as frequently as he's throwing to Brian Robinson. There's just constant rotation going on early on in camp. Do you think the competition discussion is overblown?
Is it overblown in the sense that there isn't one, or that there is one?
There isn't one. How about this? My assertion, and I believe Brian agrees with me here, is that the folks that are upset that Jaden's not getting immediately all of the work with the ones are kind of missing the point where everybody's working with everybody most of the time.
Yes. And I think it's honestly a great thing that they're having him work with everybody, so he doesn't just get comfortable with certain people, because it's football. Injuries are going to happen. You hope they don't, but he's going to be working with different folks. He needs to know how to work with his backups, I think it's a great approach. It does, just because he's working with 2s, even 3s, doesn't mean he won't start. He will start. He's a number 2 overall pick. They invested $38 million in him, and he's, far and away the better quarterback out there. So, it's a non-competition in my mind.
Say it like that. Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, I find, sorry. It's silly in my mind, but I do appreciate their approach of mixing things up. And I think most coaches do at this point, mixing, quote unquote starters with, reserves, try to mix up the units, trying to find which personnel groupings work best in certain situations or however. I think at this point, if you're not doing that, that would be a concern. But, I think where any of us run into trouble is where we try to take one specific player, one specific series from this point in training camp and extrapolate it to mean, oh, this is how they're saying things. Because that's not how it is. It's, it really is a full body of work, and there is a good bit of experimentation, especially this year with a whole new coaching staff. Yeah. A roster that's like 70% new. Like, there has to be experimentation.
Kind of going forward, what do you make of the kick return roles? He's talked about Samerstill now, both in the punt return role, now the kick return role. He mentioned Kaz Allen today, who's a guy that I can't imagine many people thought was going to make the roster last year. There was a moment there.
There's some excitement about him, but he has to get better, more consistent catching the ball.
Totally.
I watch him back here in the pregame. So if you're not consistent catching it in pre-practice, you're damn sure not going to be there when it got lights and people running at you.
I agree. What do you make of both the punt and kick return positions? And I feel like from a straight punt returner role, Crowder seems the best option right now anyway. Yeah.
Right. I would agree with you there. It seems, and Dan Quinn said this yesterday, I believe that, clearly they're looking at finding speed and sort of that shifty guy for that kick return. So it's not really surprising that they've used Eckler in the mix and Samerstill and even Forbes at times. I'm very curious how teams sort of interpret this new kickoff rule, like what they do for the actual kick as well as the return. Like, do they try completely different types of players to see what works best? I think that could be really interesting this year, just to see how teams approach it. It seems like Dave Toub in Kansas City has a much different approach than what others seem to have for the kick anyway. But it does seem like, both for the punt return and kick return, that they're eyeing that elusive runner, that speedy elusive runner. BMitch, if you want to just step in there and just take a stab at it,
for me,
it'd probably be pretty good still.
No, but for the kick return, the way that it's set up now with so many people in it, I think that speedy, elusive runner may not be the guy. I think the more powerful guy who can make people something miss will be better, because the kick return.
They had B-Rob.
Yeah, but B-Rob is going to be your starting running back. So, but kick return has always been the bigger guy.
Yeah.
Punt return has been the smaller, shifty guy. The kick return now, you move everybody into the one area. I don't want a small guy running into that area where you got more people.
I like Chris Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Chris Rodriguez looks good.
He's a bowling ball.
I would like him. Eckler possibly, yes, because he knows how to run through holes.
Yeah.
But do you have to worry more about the injuries with the kick returns like you would, with the punt returns? Like, he hasn't been shy about mixing up starters in that role.
Yeah, I see him doing that now, but again, it's the beginning of training camp. By the time we get to the season, you won't have all those starters. And those guys that will be playing meaningful time offensively, defensively, they're not going to be returning no kickoff.
Right.
And the way it's set up now, you don't have the exact same people all the time. Some games, they may have bigger or slower guys coming, being the guys covering. Other games may have their little speedy guys. I want to have an advantage over them. What if you slip in some of your quicker offensive linemen every once in a while and just say, come together and lead up, just pick off one guy and have that running back catch that ball and go straight behind them. I think if you got some 260s on up coming forward, you'll affect the average guy that comes down on the kickoff.
I'm actually being serious when I say this, but if they haven't sought your opinion on this, then that'd be silly.
I have conversations with certain people.
Maybe they have. We'll find out.
I was going to say, have they?
But I can tell you this. Just look for Kansas City and Baltimore definitely to still be good.
Yeah.
I mean, know what they're doing. When Dave Toub and Harbaugh seems to know what he's doing on special teams, it's weird. It's like he's done it before or something.
Yeah.
Nicki, thank you for your time. We thought you were coming to the tent. Sorry for the confusion. We saved you pie and
sorry.
pizza.
I had to dip early. Sorry, guys.
You got the little ones in charge. We understand. Did you have any of now? I believe Nicki may have been the actual delivery person of the Mitch Rails pie. Is that correct?
I brought them down from the hill. It was a really arduous task, but I was up for it. You know.
Did you have any of the pie?
I did not.
Wait, did you guys say
hold on, don't say the number. Seriously? Don't say the number. Do you want to guess between Brian and I how many slices of pie we had?
It depends on how many ways you sliced one pie, because I saw one was gone entirely by the time I came back from practice.
We didn't take the whole pie.
We didn't take all of it, but we definitely put a dent in it.
We had most of it.
One. Yeah.
Brian and I combined had 5 slices of pie.
I mean, those pies they had to have weighed like 10 pounds each.
They were really good.
They were good, though. I'm telling you, you might want to try it out.
I know.
There's still pizza if you want to come back.
I'm gonna opt for the pie over the cold pizza. Can you save me some pie?
Thank you for your time, Nicki. Always appreciate it.
All right, see you guys.